and the Eve offering is given to the priest. Like I said, the priest is to make use of the Eve offering. So in the land of Israel, the tradition is this: for everything you receive, you must give an Eve offering first before you remove your tithe. If you're to tithe, you must give an Eve offering before you remove your tithe or separate your tithe. That Eve offering is a gift of appreciating the Lord. The congregation or the brethren give their Eve offering, the Levite also give their Eve offering, and the priest, of course, is to use the Eve offering. That was a blessing that God has given to the priest. So how many of us have been doing this? So this is one of the truths you need to note about or know about your giving of tithes. If you're a tither, before you give out or separate your tithe from your monthly income or your earnings, you must first of all remove your Eve offering, since you want to follow the tradition of the ancient Jew. In the first video I made the other day, I said that the church has rules and standards given to the church. The Old Testament Israel also have their own rules and standards given to them, which is called the Ten Commandments, or the laws or ordinances given to them. If you pick out any of the ordinances given to them in the Old Testament and you choose to go with that ordinance, then you should follow it up to the last letter. If you don't want to follow the one that Christ gave to the church and you decide to pick up the one we have in the Old Testament, they should follow that standard to the last letter. So the Eve offering is a standard for all tithers in the ancient Jew. They don't only remove their tithe, Levitical tithe, but before they do that, they must first of all remove their Eve offering. That you know that the Levite also give their Eve offering. So note this, that Eve offering, which is also known as teruna, is given in portion, which I said before. Some people give 1/40th, some 1/50th, some 1/60th. It's a gift given to the Lord or to a deity for a wonderful hand upon the giver of the Eve offering or the teruna before even removing his tithe. There are other places you can read or study yourself at home. At the end of this class, you can study Exodus 25, 1 to 27, Exodus 29, verse 28, Leviticus 7, verse 14, 32 and 34, 14, 32 and 34, Leviticus 10, verse 14 and 15, Deuteronomy 12, verse 6, verse 11 and verse 17. Now, after that has been done, the next thing that follows is to remove the first tithe. The Jewish people have two types of tithe. They separate half from their resources or from their income or from their gain every year. And these two tithes must be done every year, year by year. The first one is the first tithe they separate after removing the Eve offering is the Levitical tithe. The Levitical tithe is the one that some of you listening to this video right now give or pay in your different local assembly. The type of tithe that many pastors of these days use in threatening even the members by quoting Malachi that if they fail to pay such tithe, cankerworm and locusts and other disastrous animals will devour that the Lord has given to them. That type of tithe that they say to you every Sunday in your local assembly, every gathering, every time of meeting in your local assemblies, they remind you of that tithe is called the Levitical tithe. Now you can see the greed behind it. The leaders, the denominational leaders of these days are only concerned about the Levitical tithe. They have never told you about the teruna. Probably that could be the reason why the abundance blessing, since you are applying faith on it by taking up the ancient law, the abundance of the blessings has not come the way it ought to come, because you've not been carrying out the practice of the teruna. You must remove your Eve offering before even the Levitical tithe. But the leaders of these days have ignored the Eve offering, which of course will originally come back to them, but they have ignored that part that has to do with God, which is hallowed, and choose to bend or focus on their own aspect alone, which is known as the Levitical tithe. The Levitical tithe is the one you give to the church or your local denomination every Sunday in this modern era, or every day that you meet in your local assembly. That is given. In Leviticus 27 verse 30, I will quickly read from here. Leviticus 27 verse 30. Let's see what the Lord said in that place concerning the first tithe. Leviticus 27 verse 30. Leviticus 27 verse 30. I will read. Verse 30 said that, and all the tithe of the land, whether of the seed of the land or of the fruit of the tree, is the Lord's. It is holy unto the Lord. Leviticus 27 verse 30. And all the tithe of the land, whether of the seed of the land or of the fruit of the trees, is the Lord's. It is holy unto the Lord. Now this tithe is what the Lord has given to the Levite. The Lord has given this to the Levite, and God expects them in the ancient time that all the other 11 tribes, and the other 2 additional, the sons of Joseph, Manasseh, making them 13, to give to the Levite. Now, if they get their earnings or their produce at the end of the harvest year, they come up with their tithes to the Levite. The Levite receives the tithe, not the priest. The priest does not receive the tithe, because a priest could be from any tribe. A priest could be from any tribe, like your local pastor is a priest, for instance. But a Levite must come from the tribe of Levi, and Aaron happened to be the first Levitical priest. That's why he's called Levitical priest, because at this time his own priesthood is coming from the tribe of Levi, and he was the first Levitical priest. So if a priest is from a Levite, he can receive tithe from the people. But if the priest is not from the Levi tribe, he will not receive tithe. It is a Levite that will receive the tithe and now give out a portion meant for the priest to use to the priest. So it is the Levites who receive tithe in the ancient world. They will receive the tithe from the people and now bring it into the storehouse and give the portion meant for the priest to the priest to use also, while they end up sharing the rest of themselves. But these days it's not so. The priest or the senior pastor or the GO receives the tithe, and behold, ignore the other Levites, the singers, the porters, the sweepers in the house of the Lord. He ignores them. Nothing is given to them, and they'll always tell you lies that they have a way of helping them. See, there's a standard set down by the Lord himself when it comes to the issue of tithing. There are regulations that one must follow, or that are laid down in the ancient world of Israel, that have to do with tithing. The Levite received this tithe, and such a tithe is what is called the Levitical tithe. They pay in those days, and it is meant for the Levite to use those tithes, because the Levites were not part of the inheritance given to the people in the land. That we already know, that the Levites were called to walk into the temple, to walk in the temple of the Lord, to keep on burning incense and carrying out religious sacrifices. And so no inheritance was given to them and their families apart from the lands that they're going to live on. That is just all, and their normal heirs or whatever. That was what was given to them. So the Lord now said, because no inheritance was allotted to them, then they have every right to inherit his own hallowed property, which one of them includes the tithe. So the Levites are the beneficiaries of tithe, and they have the right. They are the only ones that have the religious and traditional right to collect the tithe from brethren or from the people in the community. So the Levite receive the tithe. Such a tithe you give to a Levite is called the Levitical tithe, which of course has turned out to be what you give today in your local denominations. And the pastors or the preachers or the leaders of your local denominations are seriously bent on it, and they tell you if you don't give those things, of course you go to hell. It's a big lie. You will not go to hell. You will not go to hell. Tithing does not take any man to heaven and does not take any man to hell. But if you're a tither and it happens you're in a denomination that gives that tithe, and you wish to key your faith into the ancient law of Israel, then do that faithfully by keeping all the standard of the ancient law regarding tithe. You must remove your terunat first before you remove your 1/10 of your produce. Now, after you remove your 1/10 now, which is known as the Levitical tithe, we have another tithe that is also given by the people of Israel in that same year of after harvest. Such tithe is the second tithe they give, and it is called in Hebrew Ma'aseh Seni. It is a family tithe. It's called Ma'aseh Seni. I say it is a family tithe. That tithe is meant to be enjoyed by the family that give the tithe. Now, as they remove their teruna or their eve offering and also remove the Levitical tithe, they'll also remove the family tithe, the same major 1/10. They'll also remove the family tithe, and that is a tithe they will take to the place where the Lord has chosen and placed his name. And in Deuteronomy 14, from verse 22 to 27, the Lord said in that place that if the place that he has chosen for his name to be used, if that place is too far, they should convert that tithe, that crop, that agricultural produce to money. And when they get the place he has chosen, where he has placed his name, then they should use that money to buy whatever their heart so desires. He mentioned wine, he mentioned oxen, he mentioned strong drink. The Lord mentioned strong drink. Quickly, a lot of denominational leaders have placed sin or tag strong drink with them saying that whoever takes strong drink is a sinner. It's a big lie. Now, the Lord himself told them in Deuteronomy 14, 27 from 22 to 27, he said whatever their heart so desires to get, wine, strong drink, oxen or whatever, they should buy and eat with their family. That is called the family tithe. It's called the family tithe. The one I said is called in Hebrew Ma'asa Senim. Every family does that in Israel. This is another truth they have not told you. This would have been found in the local denominations if at the end of every year, your family tithe that you've removed from the January of the year to the December or to the period where you have your conventions, you gather all the money down to that place to your family and buy and eat and celebrate. It would have been fun if you are aware that you also have the right to enjoy the tithe you pay. So you have the Levitical tithe, you also have the family tithe, which is carried out year by year. In Israel, we have the seventh year, which is known as the sabbatical year. Before the seventh year, there are 6 years that will take you to the seventh year. In the first and second year, we have the Levitical tithe and the family tithe displayed or practiced. In the third year and the sixth year is another tithe called the poor tithe, which they have not told you. Now, the fourth and the fifth year is another Levitical tithe and family tithe. So, family tithe and Levitical tithe comes up in the first year, the second year, the fourth year, and the fifth year. The first year, second year, fourth year, and the fifth year. And in the third and sixth year is the poor tithe. God also has an economy planned out for the poor because he also considered the poor. There are a lot of references in the Bible that has proven that God has a plan for even the poor man. Even the Bible says, or God himself said in Genesis, that the poor will not cease from the land. God understood that and has brought out a particular economy that has to better the life of the poor. Now, the poor tithe is organized or displayed every third year or 3-year interval. That I said, it is always done at the third year and the sixth year. In that poor tithe, it is only the teruna that is removed from the produce of that third year or the sixth year. There is nothing like family tithe done at that era. There is no Levitical tithe done at that particular year. It is only the family tithe that is removed at the third year and the sixth year, meant for the poor to eat, the widows, the orphans, the strangers, and the Levite that has nothing. That is recorded in the book of Deuteronomy 14, 28 to 29. Deuteronomy 14, 28 to 29. There the Lord said, at the end of every 3 years, such practice should be done. And if that is done, then the blessings mentioned in Malachi will be released. This he have not told you before. Your local pastor has never mentioned this to you. That the Bible also has the same biblical verses that he has read out to defend the Levitical tithe which concerns him. That same Bible verses have the down part of it, the poor tithe, and that has never been mentioned to you. Now, it is not on their jurisdiction to say no to that. If any local denominational leader chooses to dabble into the issue of tithing by making tithing to be a creed in his local gathering, then such a pastor should be able to meet the standard of all tithing. Doing one part of this aspect of the law and ignoring the other part of it, it makes it very odd and very bad. And God will not be happy in such a case. So if there's anyone who have decided to go into tithing, that person must understand that we have first, before removing any of your tithe, you must remove your eve offering known as a teruna. After removing your teruna, which is dependent on you, whatever size you want to remove, that is your own ability to do that. After doing that, you need to remove your Levitical tithe. After Levitical tithe, you have the family tithe removed. Then on the 3rd year and the 6th year, then we have the poor tithe, which takes place, I said, every 3-year interval. Now, one thing you must note, that in the land of Israel, on the 7th year, the 7th year in the land of Israel is tithe year free. Nobody pays tithe in the 7th year. Why? Because the 7th year is also known is their sabbatical year. In the sabbatical year, their lands are to lie fallow. Nobody cultivates the land. And since nobody cultivates the land in that year, nobody pays tithe in that year, because the Lord said in his own word, He's going to bless them so much even to the 6th year, and they can have their sabbatical year or the feast of sabbatical year freely throughout that year, with still a lot of food to eat at home that will usher them into the new year, which is the 8th year. So you can see in Israel, the 7th year is always regarded as tithe-free year, because that year nobody does any farming activity.